education. Aside from that, she's also been active at Lahendus.net, an online counseling platform where students can get their first real glimpse of counseling real people with real problems, but virtually. I'm Mika, let's give a big hand.
Hey guys! So I'm probably a familiar face to most of you, right? Who don't know me, I've been running around taking care of your coffee tables, doing yoga in onesies and stuff like that, making sure that you guys are having an amazing time and hopefully have smiles on your faces and like what is going on right now. But I would like to step out of that role for a bit, for the next 45 minutes or so, and step into a role that I'm more familiar with, which is being an online counselor. And I would like to tell you more about my experiences with online counseling. But before I start, can you guys please raise your hand if your country has an online counseling platform, an app, anything like that? Okay. Raise your hand if you are involved in that organization that does online counseling. Raise it up high. You're proud. You're proud. Yeah, you are. Okay, and keep it held up if you are an online counselor. Kind of? A bit? Okay, so I'm going to talk about my side of online counseling and about my organization. If at all you have anything to add on your organization's part, or if you have questions, comments, anything like that, I would greatly appreciate it. So, as an online counselor, I think that we're supposed to follow the people and not expect them to follow us. So we have to go wherever the people go. So right now, the people are going online, so I think we kind of have to follow them in order to be able to help them in a way that they need. Right now, there are many different forms of online counseling. A lot of counselors are using Skype. There is IMs, which is like instant messaging, kind of like Facebook. So with not being live and getting instant feedback, there is letter counseling, where you send a letter, sort of like an email, and they send it back to you, back and forth. There are tons of apps. There are even bots nowadays that don't only answer you via texts, but as you can see here, there are bots that now are looking at the mimics and the voices and just the change in tone and your posture and give you feedback and ask you questions and guide you. That's really interesting. That is something that I just learned a couple of weeks ago, that is a thing that is going on right now. So there are many, many, many different forms of online counseling. But as you might guess, I'm definitely not adequate in talking about all of these. I myself work for this lovely organization called Lahendus.net, and we do letter counseling. So this means that we're not online, live, talking to the person, but rather it is sort of like an email conversation. So they send us an email, and we reply, and it goes back and forth, so it's not synchronous. But I'd like to talk about Lahendus.net a bit more, because I think it's quite a cool organization. And not only because I'm involved, but I actually think it's a cool organization. Because 15 years ago, a bunch of students, just like you and me, got together and saw two big problems. So one problem being that we want to help people. We want to guide them. We want to help them solve their problems. And the other part is, I don't know about all the other countries, but in Estonia, young psychology students don't really get to practice a whole lot. They learn a lot of theory, but you don't get to use this knowledge. You don't get to actually work with real people, not until you're in your master's degree, but how do you know that you actually want to do it if you've never tried it? So they put these two problems together, and they came up with Lahendus.net. And it translates to being solution.net, hinting to the fact that we try to help people reach the solutions within them. So we're not telling them what to do. We all know the basics of counseling. So we try to help them. And it might seem like, oh, so there's a bunch of kids being like, yeah, we want to like make the world a better place. And like, so where does that lead to? Well, it led somewhere, because it started out as a project within Estonian Psychology Students Association. But 5 years ago, and yes, they had a double birthday this year, by the way, they became their own non-governmental organization. Right now, it's not a big organization. We have 21 active counselors who deal with people every day. We deal with people every day, and we have more than 2,500 clients in our database. Most of them are 17 to 25 years old. And last year, I also pulled up data for last year. We got 383 new clients, and you can see the data for letters sent to us and by us. And you can see there's a big difference. And I want to explain that a little bit. We don't leave any letters unanswered. So it's not like I pull up a letter and I'm like, yeah, I don't like that person, I'm not going to answer. It's because the time frame that we have to answer these letters is 3 to 5 days, depending on how much experience you have. So sometimes with people that are a bit more anxious, or if something big has happened, they send us 2 to 3 letters before we get to reply them. That's where it comes in. I can assure you, anyone that writes us a letter, they all get a response. So yeah, this is Lahendus.net, and I am mainly going to talk about this because I just don't have any other experiences. And I want to show you how we do it, because maybe, just maybe, it sparks an interest in you, and you want to try something like this. So, let's start from the beginning. There's a person. They have a problem. We all have problems sometimes. We all want to talk to people, other people sometimes. So, they send us a letter. We read it. If you start off, if you're new, you get 5 days to answer the letter. Once you're independent, and I'm going to talk about the independence part a bit later, and you have some experience, it goes down to 3 days. I know it's quite a while, and some of our clients do have a problem with it, but since we're all volunteers, we're all students, we just have to protect ourselves as well, so we won't burn out. So, and there it goes. We reply them, they answer us, we reply, they write us, and so on, and so on, and so on. And I want to mention that the relationship that we develop, the counselor-client relationship, is always ended on their part. We never just quit writing them. If we feel like we are done counseling, for example, we always make sure our clients get a new counselor. So we never leave people hanging. So this is pretty much what it looks like. And for the client, it's as simple as that. As you may imagine, it's not quite as simple on the counselor's part, because we can't just invite everyone in and be like, yeah, so here are people, go counsel. First of all, you need to study. Yes, I did say that we don't have enough opportunities, and this may seem a bit hypocritical, and now I'm like, oh, but you still need to study. We need the people to have had at least 15 ECTs worth of counseling, therapy, social psychology related subjects at university, or extra courses, or something like that, so we know that they know what they're doing. So it's not like they have no clue how to answer or what is a client-counselor relationship, because that's just a bit wrong. So to put that into perspective, I looked it up. One ECT should be 26 hours in every country, right? So that comes up to about 390 hours that you have to have learned some sort of therapy-related thing. And then, once a year, we have interviews with them. So we send out a letter, and only the 20 first people that reply get the spot to the interviews. Because, as I said, we're all doing voluntary work, and we just don't have the resources right now. And I think that if you guys have bigger organizations and have bigger resources, you can definitely take something like this to a much bigger scale than is 31 counselors. We right now just don't have that resource in us. So anyway, the interview round is pretty much a 2-day process. So first there's like this information section where we talk about the organization, how it works, what you're supposed to do in there. And then in the second part of the first day is the interview. So we interview all of the people that want to be counselors, and just to see if they actually understand what they will be doing, if they've actually taken the courses, and we let them write a letter to see how they write. Because sometimes even if you'd be a very good counselor in life, you're not a good writer. So, and then we choose 10. So every year we get 10 new counselors, approximately. Some years maybe a bit more, some years maybe a bit less. So let's say you've gone through this process. You're finally there, you're an online counselor, you're a superstar helping people and finally doing the thing you love. Sounds amazing. It sounded amazing for me. I was so excited. I finally got it. I couldn't believe it. I was ecstatic. I was like, now I get to work with people. I'm going to get my first letter. I'm going to be amazing. And then my first letter arrives. And I read it. And I'm like, oh God, this is an actual person with actual real life problems. And all the knowledge I have of counseling are just like wiped away. And I'm like, oh, what do I do? Do I write them? Do I say hi? Do I not say hi? Do I say what's my name? They actually tell you whether to do these things or not. But you just freak out and you're like, I'm going to Mexico, hide somewhere. They'll never be able to find me. But thankfully, they've thought about this, because I can assure you I wasn't the only one that did this. Most new counselors freak out because we've never had this experience before. So we all get a personal mentor, and they're doing volunteer work as well. These are people that have been Lahendusnet counselors for sometimes years, no, every time, just years. They have experience, they know how it goes, and they can mentor you. So with my first letter, I wrote my bigger sister. We call them bigger brothers and sisters. And I was like, so what do I do? I have no clue what to do. What am I supposed to write? I'm sorry, I thought I knew this stuff, but I really don't. And they're just like, it's okay. We'll handle it. Just write whatever you feel like you should answer, and then I'll look over it and I'll give you some feedback. And so that's what they did. And that is how the process goes. So you have this bigger brother or sister, and you send your version of the thing that you want to reply to the client to them, and you get their feedback. And it's a loop until your bigger sister says that, okay, this is ready, send it off. And as time goes on, this loop will get smaller and smaller and smaller, until at one point, your bigger brother or sister is going to say, you know what, I think you can handle it. And that's the period where you become independent. And the time that you have to answer letters shortens, and you're independent. Yeah.
Some companies use say 2 big or too complicated for the online counseling? How do you kind of pick your clients?
Oh, you mean at all that are way too big, like maybe they actually have like a disorder or something?
Yeah. How do you choose who to counsel?
Well, we don't. We counsel everyone, but if it's a case that we see that needs actual clinical work or psychiatric help, we always guide them to. We always say, so what do you think about the idea of seeing a therapist or a psychiatrist? And then we always give at least 2 references to the people that we would say, that's the person, that's what they do, this is how it's going to look like, it's not scary, it's not as bad as it may feel. That's what we do. So since we're students, we can't be like, oh yeah, you're bipolar, go take these pills. That can't happen. So yeah, a lot of the work really is just directing people in the right path. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for the question. So now that you're independent though, even as you said, you have these critical people that come in, and you might still lose your head. Thankfully, we've thought about that. We have an on-duty supervisor. So most of the people working for Lahendusnet are doing it for free. On-duty supervisor is one of the people that gets paid. Why? Because they are available to us 24/7. They might not answer like right away, but every one of those 31 counselors has the opportunity to write the on-duty supervisor. And they will help you, guide you through the problem you are having with your clients. And, yes?
Can I interrupt you? I just want to ask about the supervisor. Is he or she also a student?
No.
Yeah.
They are actual clinical psychologists. Yeah. And actually going even further, because you don't always have these critical clients, but you might still want help and support. Every month, we have mandatory group supervisions, which, once again, are led by a professional that we pay. And they just... How group supervision works is that one of the counselors in each city, so we have 2 cities that teach psychology, so in those cities we have group supervisions. One person sends off their case, and we read through it, we talk through it. It's kind of a co-vision type of situation. And for extra help, even besides all of that, we have an email list. So if you're like, my client is in the middle of suburbs somewhere that you've never heard of, and they need a psychiatrist, you can send an email to the email list asking if anyone knows anyone good around that. Or any other organizational question or counseling related question, you can put it all in the email, and the community that we have around Lahendus.net can give you feedback. So, now I'm going to bring it all back to the topic we have right now. And this is going to be a really smooth transition. Raise your hand if you think that digital music has taken over the place of CDs. Smooth transition, right? Raise your hand if you think that AIs will take the place of humans. No time frame. At one point. Let's put it that way. Okay, there are some. Raise your hand if you think that online counseling will take over classical counseling. Okay, I see some. Most are like, either I don't want to raise my hand, please go away, I want to sleep, or they actually think that it won't. Well, I've brought up some main differences that the classical counseling has with letter counseling, and this is definitely not the full list. It depends on so many variables, but what I invite you to think about is that maybe we shouldn't consider these two as one or the other. Maybe we could consider them kind of as friends, as aiding each other. So, as one is very immediate, very intimate, the other provides you with all the anonymity in the world that you want. Where one is right there and you can't hide your expressions and you can't hide your immediate physical reactions, the other one lets you read through the letters, that lets you go back and look at what your counselor or your client has said before. So I think they marry in a really beautiful way. And you don't have to have one or the other. You could have both if you need the support. Because isn't that really the idea of counseling? To help people. So why should we limit it to one or the other? And even further, I challenge you to think about how much online and especially letter counseling has to offer to students. It's how we can learn to take the baby steps with someone holding our hand, to learn to ride a bike with our training wheels on, because we have someone there protecting us, reading our letters, so we don't harm ourselves or the client. And yes, at one point it may seem like, oh, so what am I supposed to do with this idea now? Well, I don't know. Think about it. Because a bunch of people once already had this idea, and they turned it into an organization. And those were people just like you and me. So I don't really see why each and every one of you couldn't do that. Thank you. So if anyone has any other questions, yes?
Yes, I want to ask if you experience at the homepage that because people are anonymous, that you sometimes get maybe more unserious letters.
There's always the chance, but unless it's very obvious that the person is joking, we always take it seriously.
Okay.
So you never know what the case is. So before you have very, very, very obvious evidence, we take it seriously. And so far, my personal experience, I haven't gotten one letter that's been like joking.
Okay. But do you have any kind of countermeasure or something? Because you need to log in, right, to be part of the homepage.
Yeah.
And get counseling.
Yeah.
So have the company experienced that they needed to throw up or kick out, delete some users because they were trolling or?
Not that I know of. No.
Okay.
No. Mm-hmm. There are so many questions. I think that was you were first. Yeah.
I was just wondering how it works with the law. Like, if real counselors have a duty to go to the police if they find a crime, or when it comes to, I don't know how you say it in English, but like be silent around it. I guess so.
Confidentiality and such. Yes, it all still applies. And when we have a case where we know that the person is suicidal and they've given us the information of where they want to do it and when they want to do it, we do report it. So every year there is thus far I already know, at least this year there's already been a case, for example, where we have contacted the ambulance, for example. So yeah, we do have to do that.
I guess that there's not yet like a law that can actually regulate counseling online, or is it? I guess, they're not...
What do you mean by regulate in this context?
What it means, like, in Sweden, if you work as a psychologist, you are under a special law, and that means you're only under that law if you work as... it's just like, if this is on when you're a student and you're counseling, you are like between laws. Does someone understand?
You're not a professional counselor yet, so that counseling law doesn't, mean you.
Yeah, you don't. I don't know if there's an exact law, but I don't see a real. There hasn't been a case where we really needed it, because we always have surveillance. Also, the people working in the organization, they have access to the letters. So if there's a complaint or anything like that, other people see what you write. So you can't just write mindlessly whatever you think, even when you're independent. You still have surveillance. So we still have these basic principles of confidentiality, anonymity, all of that. So we still work in that. And since they do go through interviews and such, we do pick the people quite carefully, so it's not like we'd let anyone close to client work. I think there was a question here first, and then...
Then people know that they are writing to...
Yeah, and in our first letter we also let them know that we're students, and if there's ever like a borderline case, there's always the on-duty supervisor, so we're always very protected, and we're always encouraged to ask if we don't know the answer. Yeah, Christian?
I just like if you had any knowledge about any statistics or studies done on, because this is a bit different from e-therapy, but it's internet counseling, so yeah it's not people who are, they're still students, you know. So I was wondering if you knew if it's how effective it is contra e-therapy or...
I know there's been a master thesis done on the language used, and whether it had like positive words or like negative words in it. That's the only research I know that's been done, especially like specifically on Lahendusnet. And there's right now research being done on just the data. But since I haven't been involved in either one, I don't want to go into the details just in case. Yeah.
Can I come with a follow-up question for that?
Yep.
Because when we talked about like apps and stuff, they talked about the brain apps that can, like Velocity, that got sued, I think, because they are saying that this can help your brain. And people might think that since your name is Solution.net, that you are not selling, but sort of, can you come with any problems? Can that come with a problem that people are saying that, even though like the first letter said, we are students, do you think that that might be a problem?
It's very interesting in the way that we write our letters. For example, at first I had the habit of always being like, yeah, I'm here to help you, or like, I will help you. And my older sister was always like, you cannot say that you will help them, because you don't know that. So we never tell them that we're going to help them. We always say that I'm here to support you, I'm here to guide you, I'm here to listen to you. So you can never promise things to the client, and we never do that. And I think the strict translation is Solution.net to find the solution within you. So it's more like you have the solution, not us.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think you don't have any other like these difficulties or problems with language, because in this context you can't use the therapist, and you must be kind of like aware of what words you use. For example, you're speaking about yourself as counselors. What's that in your language?
Do you want the word?
Yes.
Nõustaja.
Okay. Oh, yeah. This is exactly what kind of words we're using. We are actually, when you're doing Jyväskylä University, when we're speaking about it, so the coaches. This is find the right word, but it's better than, purposely wouldn't be. It's not ethical, it's not.
Yeah.
It was interesting what you said about the support and help.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah, exactly. And we want to make sure that all of our clients know this, that that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
We're just their extra support in life. We're not there to solve any of their problems, and we definitely can't do the work of a therapist. Yeah. So many people.
I just wondering about is there any research done on this symptom reductions, for instance, and how much it's helping compared to other kinds of counseling?
Not with Lahendus.net, no. No, I'm sorry.
And you're not aware of any similar services?
Not off the top of my head, no, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I was just wondering, how much do you guys know about each other? Like, are you like anonymous?
You mean me and the client?
Yes.
So I actually wanted to put in 2 slides of how they register and what the page looks like, but then I realized that's going to take a long time. So anyway, they fill out a form that is very similar to any kind of social media type place. They put their name, first name's enough. Then they put just like email, age, where they live, but only like county, so they don't have to specifically tell us their address. But then there's a little box at the bottom of the screen saying that I want to stay anonymous. And that means that all the information that they put in there, the counsellor does not have access to that, and we actually don't. So when I work, so far, every time I've worked, I've known exactly what they tell me. So sometimes I don't even know their name. Most of the time, I don't know their age. If there's not a good reason to ask that, we don't ask that. So it's up to them how much they want to reveal about themselves. I always say where I study, how far along am I, what my name is, and what it means. So pretty much so I can get their consent, so they know what they're dealing with, and that people are going to see the letters within the organization. Yep. Did that answer the question? Yeah. So there's a question?
I was wondering, like, does it always end with that the one getting counseling ends by not writing, or do they write to you like, I'm feeling better now and I now want to end this? And then how do you like wrap it up if the session is ending? Because I hear there's like going back and forth, but can you like, what's your own personal experience and what can you see is helping these people are? Can you see some? Can you see them getting better throughout each email? What's your own experience? And then, if it's ending, then how do you wrap it up? Do you like ask them how they're feeling now and how they're feeling? Start you evaluate?
The sad truth about that is that most clients just disappear.
Okay.
So they send you a letter, you write them back. Like a lot of the clients, they write you one letter, and sometimes that is enough for them, and or a million other reasons why they don't respond ever again. And a lot of other clients, they just stop writing at one point or another. There are cases where then maybe half a year later you get an email saying, thanks, I'm so much better now. Not every time. With some clients that you've worked with for a longer period of time, you can definitely see them getting better. Sometimes you can see them getting better, getting worse, getting better, just life pretty much. So it very much depends on the people. Thus far I haven't worked enough to have wrapped up a client, but I do have quite a few active clients that I'm still working with. Yep. I think that you were first.
I'm also interested in how you create change. Like, they say they have social anxiety and they haven't, they don't participate in parties and they don't know what to do with their life or something. How do you choose what to focus on? And do you say they're going to bring a solution from inside out, and you work from a different offer service like theory, like CBT or psychodynamic? How do you approach the client's problems, if you can say that? Your own, like.
I suppose it really depends on the counsellor as well, because none of us have had formal training in CBT or anything like that. Most of the students start like second or third year in their bachelor, so they don't really know much.
So it's more human-to-human interaction, like they, as you say, you're here for the support, and it's like this non-judgmental room you have to get out, virtual room you have to get out.
But and what we do as well is that we offer a lot of tools to them that they might not know yet. Like, have you tried doing this? Have you tried doing that? But if it is something clinical already, like they actually have it sorted, or even if they suspect having it sorted, the first thing kind of always is that, have you thought about seeing someone that can actually confirm this? And because we know we can't work with clinical patients, we don't have the knowledge yet.
So you kind of can say it's kind of preventive for some people. Like so before they feel really bad, and maybe in a psychologist you can maybe give them some advice, and they can feel like they've been listening to and to make some changes.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes for people it is just telling the story. And for example,
We also I like the concept. Yeah.
That's good. Is there any more questions? I'm just saying that. I don't know how much more time we have, but if you have any more questions, or if you think about it and something pops up in your head, I run around like crazy. So just like pull my sleeve and be like, okay, I have a question. Answer me now. No. So yeah. Anyway.
A follow-up question because when the end of the conversation between you two, is it like you never write to them before they have taken the first steps every time? Like you don't say, hi, how is it going? It's been a while since last time you wrote. Do you ever do that? Or is it like they should always take the first step and you don't sort of...
There are very specific cases that you might do that. Mostly no. So we write them a letter. If they don't respond, they don't respond.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how we do it. There might be some very, very specific cases where you're inclined to do that, but not really. No.
That's not the rule.
No, definitely not. No.
Okay.
Are there?
Can I have a comment?
Oh.
Can I skip back to the picture of the machine that is reading emotions and so forth?
Yeah.
So two interesting things maybe for the clinical crowd here. Like last night we ended the round table with like technology can be used for the purposes that we want them to use here in the psychology department. So the same guy who's doing these virtual coaches, his name is Albert Rizzo, if I'm correct.
Embarrassing.
I heard one of his talks, and he said that number one, these machines that can track your eye gaze, your facial expression, your posture, your analyzing your voice. These machines can basically analyze emotions better than humans can, because humans feel the emotions themselves and they're distracted by other things.
You blink and you miss something.
So they can do it better. That's one interesting thing to think about. So just to help you, for example, you have a camera here and you think the person is sad, but oh, they're not. And the other thing is that it has been shown through research that people actually open themselves up more when they're talking to computers. Because it's, like you said, full anonymity and no one is judging you, just analyzing what you said and then giving your reply. So another interesting thing, so if you put like, maybe put in the Lahendusnet, you also chat with our bot, that is actually Annika. When people think that it's a robot, then you can open up like these people who don't want to talk to another person because they're judging.
And anyone who hasn't seen that, I suggest, I think I put into YouTube something like, you could put like Sim Sensei, I think. It's really cool because they show you a video of how the computer is analyzing that. Like, for example, they lean back, and instead of the bot saying like, oh, you feel that, it says, oh, you seem to be feeling a bit uncomfortable.
There's actually, if you go to, I think, Sim Coach something, then there's an online version that doesn't track your eyes, but you can still talk to it. And the question might be that, oh no, but human therapists are always better. But the problem, at least in the USA where this is developed, is that they have so many war veterans that are like post-traumatic stress syndrome, and there is not enough human therapists there. And that's why they deploy these virtual avatars, and like this Sim Coach is basically like a virtual war veteran who's just talking to the actual veterans, and they really get help. So, so technology being used to do this.
Yeah. I think I read somewhere that statistically, almost, I'm not really sure if I'm saying it right, but I'm wondering if I heard that a lot of people with PTSD actually have a harder time succeeding with therapy than others. Is that correct?
I can't confirm or
Google that later.
but the fact is that there are a lot of those people who have this problem.
Let's give another big hand.